A few years ago, I began a new spiritual journey. Raised a Christian, but tired of my confusion and denying my gifts, I decided to take a new path of discovery and internal growth. Along the way, one thing I realized was how many others are in a similar place in their lives, knowing there's more, but stuck in their own conditioning or doubt. So I started this podcast as a way of vocalizing the things I was learning, a way to discover the world of spirituality and see if I'm right, that things are not as different as we've been told, that it's all connected and the universe is so much bigger than we knew. I want to be your bridge out of the chaos to help you see new things, to get unstuck, and maybe even find your purpose and your path. To be honest, there'll be days that there's no telling what we'll talk about here, but it'll always be fun and a chance to learn something as we move through the chaos and cross the bridges between what you think you know and what you think you don't. I'm Heather, this is Ballyhoobridge, and I hope you'll come along for the ride with me. So today I want to talk about the moon. For most of my life, I don't know that I gave the moon much thought other than a full moon. You know, people would always say that the crazies were going to come out for a full moon. And the truth was, I guess people did act differently around that time. But until recently, I'm not sure I ever understood why. And when I first started hanging out and with my group of, witchy friends, some of the first things we did was get together for the new and full moon. And in fact, we still do that. By the way, the group is called the Lunar Witch Society. If anyone's interested, I can put the link for that in the show notes in case anybody wants to check it out. But anyway, that's where I started learning about the moon and what power it might hold. And I started seeing this connection to astrology and how these cycles affected all of us. And there's just so much more than just the moon or just your sign. Like with so many other things that we've said, it's all connected. All of the things affect the other things. It's all truly intertwined. I mean, the moon doesn't change on its own. It reflects the sun's light and, the position of the moon and the sun, from the perspective of the earth will determine how much of the moon we actually see. That was a bit of science there. I mean, it's all quite fascinating to me. I think most of us know our sign from astrology, but we also have, that's your sun sign, and we also have a moon sign. And they all just work together and they're all important, even though I find, the things you see in mainstream seem to focus on the sun sign more. But anyway, I've learned bits along the way about astrology, but I find I'm just not very good at it. It's a little confusing to me when I'm trying to figure it out on my own. I find I like someone to help me, and usually that's my friend Spring, who you guys have encountered on other episodes. So she's someone that is extremely helpful in my life to help me understand some of these things. And maybe if you're someone that struggles too, maybe, you can find someone that you can turn to help you with some of the astrology knowledge as things change with the moon and with the planets and whatnot. There's just so much to know about the moon and the energy and the phases and what they really mean. And I mean, on and on. Just like so many other things in our lives, this energy and such affects us. And it's energy that we can use to help us in our daily lives or when we're doing things like manifesting or releasing. I think having that knowledge of what's happening can help you be more aligned and work with the energy to kind of make your life better. So anyway, I thought it would be fun to kind of get into it and talk about it. And I actually learned quite a bit from the research I did from this. So here we go. So today we're going to talk a bit about moon magic, the phases of the moon, types of moons. Yes, there's types of moons, eclipses, and the connection the moon has to astrology. Moon magic is actually an ancient and really sacred practice that revolves around attuning ourselves to those rhythmic energies of the moon. It's this sort of celestial dance, if you will, that allows us to tap into the flow of intention setting and healing and spiritual growth. And the truth is, it can all be quite profound at times. In my research on some of this, I often saw references to dance. It was referred to as a celestial dance or a cosmic dance. And it just made it feel so graceful and truly like there's a choreography, I guess, that sort of guides all of this and again connects it all. And I just really loved that. And I loved the way it was referred in that way. So, this cosmic dance of the moon phases I find quite fascinating. And just to do a little bit of science here, a lunar cycle, which you may hear called a lunar month, lasts about 29 and a half days. And in this period, you're going to see the full sequence of moon phases. It's going to start from one new moon and go to the next one. But keep in mind, it can vary a bit in length. A few things could factor in there, but this is a good average to keep in mind. Now, each cycle will encompass all the phases, and each cycle of phases is going to carry a unique vibration and symbolism that offers a unique opportunity for self-discovery, for growth, for even spiritual connection. So I want to take a closer look at these phases because I know there's some that, to be honest, I never really thought of. I always thought of the new moon and the full moon, but some of the others I never really considered. So let's start with the new moon, since that's where the phases start. And in this new moon phase, the moon is positioned between the sun and the earth. So its illuminated side is basically facing away from us. Okay, so it's going to make it dark. And this phase marks a fresh start, a blank canvas, if you will, making it a perfect time to set your intentions. It's a great time to set new goals, to make plans, and to plant those seeds of the things that we desire. And the energy with that moon is going to be really receptive and open to this. Next is what's called the waxing crescent. And in this phase, the moon is gradually increasing in size. So this phase is really about growth, creativity, and the pursuit of those dreams, the sprouting of those seeds of intentions that you planted before. Like I said, the crescent moon is gradually increasing in size. So hopefully, at least, our goals will be gaining momentum as well. This could be a really good time for research, for learning, and taking those first steps towards your goals that you've set. Next is the first quarter. Now, when the moon reaches the first quarter phase, it's completed 1/4 of its orbit around the Earth. So the illuminated side of the moon is now on the right side. Now, this phase is about overcoming obstacles and taking action. And of course, you may encounter some challenges as you work towards your goals, but it's a time to make decisions and, keep that determination going. Just keep going. It's kind of like a climber reaching the halfway point of the mountain and sort of evaluating the path that's still ahead so that they can continue their climb. Next is waxing gibbous. During the waxing gibbous phase, the moon is almost fully illuminated with only just that small portion that's still in the shadows. And this phase is a good time for refining and fine-tuning those goals. Look at your progress and see if there's any adjustments that you need to make. Focus in on those details that are helping you reach that goal. As you're shaping your intention to make sure that it's aligning with what you really want. Next is a full moon, and of course during this phase the moon is fully illuminated, so it's positioned directly opposite of the sun. Now this phase brings powerful energy for things like illumination and awareness, and release. It's a time where you can celebrate your achievements, embrace your emotions, and start to release what no longer serves you. So it's a great time for any rituals that would involve purging or cleansing and, letting go of those things that you no longer need. A waning gibbous is next, and as the moon begins its descent back towards darkness, we enter that waning gibbous phase. And this is a phase that's really good for letting go of what's unnecessary as you're starting to prepare for that next cycle. So this is a time where you're in gratitude, completion, and even surrender. Kind of just like the moon's illumination is gradually diminishing, you're shedding those parts of your life that have fulfilled their purpose, and it's time to let them go. The last quarter phase is what's next, and that marks that final quarter of the moon's journey around the earth. So it's going to be illuminated on the left side, of course, opposite of the first quarter phase. And during this phase, reflection and evaluation are going to be key. You want to take time to sort of assess your progress, learn from the experiences that you had, and consider what adjustments you'll need to make as you move forward. This phase is about preparing for that next cycle of growth that's going to be coming. And the final phase is a waning crescent. And as the moon enters this phase, it's basically barely illuminated. You have that little thin crescent of light visible. And so this is a time that you want to rest. It's that time for introspection and deep healing. Embrace that solitude. Do some journaling. It's also a great time for meditation. It's basically a time to recharge your energy and let go of those old patterns and, cleanse your spirit and really get prepared for that new cycle that's coming. So did you notice as we were talking about that there's kind of an ebb and a flow to the phases, just like the tides that follow the moon? So if we align our intentions and our actions with these phases, we could really tap into a wealth of energy that would help us grow and really transform, because we're really aligned with that energy as it comes around. I think that's amazing. So let's talk about some rituals that you could do to help with tapping into that energy. Now, of course, these are just some ideas. You may have others, or you may create others as you get more into the moon energy, but these are just some that I wanted to bring up and share. So let's start with the new moon, and this is where you want to set your intentions for that moon cycle. Visualization techniques can work really well here, where you visualize yourself having already achieved that goal, in that place. You can also write your goals down. I like to do that and then check back after that moon cycle is finished and see what I had accomplished during that time. And just like we talked about in the previous episode with spring, where we were talking about intentions, I believe you should set intentions that you're serious about and that you're really willing to put your energy behind and that you're willing to work on over that moon cycle. I've actually set a few short term that were for that cycle, and I've actually done some long term ones too that I know I just kind of want to get started on, and it helped me with that intention setting. But you can write them down, you can journal them, and that helps you sort of keep them in sight so that you can keep that intention strong. And I don't know, would you guys agree that once you write something down like that with that kind of intention, that it kind of makes it more real, or maybe more tangible, I think might be the right word. I know it feels that way for me. So for the full moon, you want to embrace that radiant light of that full moon and release what no longer serves you. Rituals are things like writing a letter to someone that maybe you're holding on to anger or even sadness with. And you know what? Write it all down. The good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. Write it down and then burn it in the light of the moon. And that helps you release it back into the universe, and the moon, of course, is there to guide your path forward. And you know, that letter could be to yourself as well. You know, a list of things, a list of habits maybe that you want to release. Maybe, you know, for this moon cycle, I'm going to release fear and procrastination and anger, or really whatever it is, anything that no longer serves you. There's some people that also do moon bathing, and you can also consider charging your crystals at this time as well. The charging is basically going to enhance the power of that crystal, but it also will charge them with the energy of that particular moon. So keep that in mind. There are times when the moon energy is just not something I want to carry around with me, so I kind of pass. But just be mindful of that if you choose to charge crystals during that time. And like I said, I've really only worked with new and full moons in the past, but you can follow all of the phases. And this is some new information I actually learned about because, like I said, I've never done these before. So for waxing crescent and gibbous magic, just remember that this is refining your growth. So this may be a good time to do things like create vision boards. You could perform candle spells, meditate on your dreams, you know, see yourself in that place, you know, that you're already there. And it may give you some insight on how to refine what you're doing. For waning crescent and last quarter magic, you know, that's where that moon's light is diminished. So again, this is a great time for introspection and releasing patterns and focusing on some deep healing. One other thing about moon rituals, some people like to charge water with the moon energy. Basically leave a jar full of water under the moon. Of course, that could be inside, it can be outside. And it'll be infused with that energy. And I've known people to use that water in a variety of ways after. They use it in spells or even in a cup of tea for their daily practices. And like I said, it's infused with the energy from that moon, so just keep that in mind. And also remember, if you're planning to ingest it in any way in particular, make sure your jar is clean. You may also want to label the jar with things like the date, what the moon phase was, maybe what type of moon it was, if there was anything specific about it that you want to make sure you can remember, especially if you're one of those people that has multiple jars. That way you know which one's which. I know I said this already, but I never thought much about the moon, the phases of the moon, or really anything beyond was it new or was it full. And of course, if you have an interest in it, obviously you can work with moon energy all month long. But did you know that there's even more? I mean, do you ever hear people talk about, oh, it's a blue moon or a super moon or something like that? Yeah, there's more than, oh, it's a full moon. There's different types of moons throughout the year as well. And I found this part fascinating too. So let's get into the different types of moons that we may see throughout the year. How many of you guys have ever heard of a blue moon? What is a blue moon? Well, for starters, it's not blue. Instead, it refers to the rare occurrence of having two full moons within a single calendar month. So this is a phenomenon that happens roughly every 2 to 3 years, and it's often associated with the idea of rarity and unexpected opportunities. So if you have a blue moon coming, it's a great time to seize that moment and maybe embrace the unexpected. There's also what's called a super moon, and it's quite a sight to behold, actually. And this happens when the moon's orbit brings it closest to the Earth, so it looks just larger and brighter in the sky. So can you imagine that the energy of a supermoon is actually really intense and kind of magnified? So it makes it an opportune time for amplifying intentions and casting spells that are related to personal growth and transformation in particular. I mean, who don't want to tap into all that amplified energy, right? Next is a blood moon. And a blood moon is often used to describe a total lunar eclipse. So during a lunar eclipse, the Earth will pass between the sun and the moon. So it'll cast a shadow on the moon, and it gives it this kind of reddish hue. And let me explain. This reddish tint is caused by sunlight that's passing through the Earth's atmosphere. And what it does is it scatters the blue and the green light, and that allows the red light to reach the moon. I know, sciencey stuff, right? But anyway, I thought it was kind of fun. But symbolically, a blood moon signifies endings, transformation, and the shedding of old energy. So it's a great time for what I would call a profound release and an embracing of change. There's also a harvest moon. This is a full moon that occurs nearest to the autumn equinox, and it's named for its historical significance in aiding farmers during the harvest season by providing extended periods of moonlight after sunset. So, this moon represents abundance, gratitude, and reaping the rewards of our hard work. So, it's a perfect time to reflect on what you've achieved and express gratitude for the blessings in your life. There's also a hunter's moon, and I actually didn't know much about this one. It's not one that I remember being talked about very much, but it follows a harvest moon, so it's a full moon that occurs in October. Now, traditionally, this moon provided additional light as well, but it was for hunters to track their prey during hunting season. So the hunter's moon is going to carry an energy of preparation and protection and planning for the colder months that are coming. So it's a great time to focus on self-care and inner strength and developing your instincts. The last one we're going to talk about is a blue blood moon, and this one is rare indeed. Did you know it only happens every 265 years? So let me explain what it is. So it happens when a blue moon coincides with a lunar eclipse. So what happens is this results in a full moon, a supermoon in fact, that takes on that reddish hue because of the lunar eclipse. The name blood blue moon highlights the combination of the reddish color from the lunar eclipse and the rarity of having two full moons in a single month. Now, symbolically, a blue blood moon carries a heightened energy of transformation and release and just embracing unique opportunities. Now, I did do some research, so I wanted to know if there was going to be another one anytime soon. And according to what I found, the next one will be in 2037. So I believe that's actually going to be within many of our lifetimes. So it's pretty exciting, don't you think? So we talked about a lunar eclipse, and I want to get into that a little bit. So a lunar eclipse is when we have a blood moon, which we talked about before, the Earth passing between the sun and the moon, casting the shadow. But a lunar eclipse may bring up, some internal emotional issues because it's basically revealing what's been hidden. So like we said, this can be a moment of really powerful release and transformation. Some say it's best to do your rituals as that moon sort of momentarily disappears from view, that is actually the optimum time to do your ritual. So, of course, while this isn't directly a moon eclipse, a solar eclipse actually occurs during a new moon when the moon's shadow falls on the Earth. And this event marks the beginning of a lunar cycle. So it's amplifying that energy of new beginnings and fresh intentions. So as the moon sort of momentarily hides the sun, it's a great reminder of the importance of inner reflection and setting clear intentions for that cycle that's coming. I thought this was interesting too, that most eclipses don't occur by themselves. They usually come in pairs or sometimes even triplets. So an eclipse season will consist of a solar eclipse followed by a lunar eclipse, or vice versa, and it's usually within a relatively short period of time. Now, these seasons are going to bring intense energy for change and transformation as well, and often comes at a time that brings a shift in our life. So it may be encouraging us to release those things that no longer align and make room for that growth that's coming. I mean, many people that practice moon magic consider eclipses a time of heightened energy. So that would be a time to perform, powerful rituals or spell work, because that energy can really amplify the effectiveness of the intentions that you're setting or your manifestations. So I'm going to recommend that you approach those rituals with a bit of caution and truthfully a bit of reverence, because it can really be very powerful. Now, before we go, I want to talk about one more thing, and that's the association of astrology and the moon. So the truth is, the moon is a big influence over our lives. Just as the moon waxes and wanes, it kind of symbolizes our ever-changing emotions and instincts and whatnot. I think most of us think of our astrological sign, like we said before, it's our sun sign, but we have the moon sign as well. And your moon sign is determined by the position of the moon at the time of your birth. And what the moon's position in your birth chart will do is it's going to reveal your emotional nature, your instincts, your subconscious patterns, and your intuitive connection to the cosmos. Basically, how you process feelings and your overall emotional well-being. The phase of the moon at the time of your birth, so new moon, full moon, etc., can offer insights into your personal journey of growth and evolution as well. Eclipses, as we explored earlier, can hold immense significance in moon magic. Astrologically, eclipses are powerful cosmic events that sort of shake up the status quo and can initiate profound changes in our lives, like we said before. And again, it often will coincide with major life events or big revelations that we've made, or, kind of shifts in our consciousness. And the houses and the signs that they fall in within your birth chart will indicate the areas of your life that are ripe for that transformation. You can also do a comparison of two individual people's birth charts and get a better understanding of their compatibility and their dynamics within that relationship. A harmonious moon connection between two people would suggest that there will be emotional understanding and support, while challenging aspects can reveal areas that require a little more growth and communication. So like I said at the beginning, it's all connected. Moon phases, astrology, and how it relates to who we are and our personal growth. I mean, understanding these phases and the energy that comes with them can really help us manifest our desires and release the things that no longer serve us. It can help us understand our emotions and our reactions and where we need to work on ourselves and the time to do it. I mean, what an amazing opportunity for growth that is truly aligned as we follow that energy. Well, thanks for joining me today on my journey through moon magic and moon phases and types and eclipses and the connection to astrology, of course. I was inspired. I hope you were too. I actually had a little bit of guidance as well as to some things I might be able to do in the future for myself. And I really saw that deep connection that goes through, I guess you would say, through all the cosmos. And I'm still fascinated by it. So if you're feeling inspired, maybe you'll give some moon magic a try too. Thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to like and rate and follow and do all the things for our podcast. Those things really do help us out. Links and other important things that you would need to know are in the show notes, so make sure to check those out. If you have ideas of topics you'd like to hear about or questions you want us to answer, drop those on the ballyhoobridge Facebook page or on IG at ballyhoo_bridge. If you're looking for guidance in your journey, head over to ballyhoobridge.com. There you can choose a time for a free 30-minute clarity call with me. In the meantime, take care of yourself and spread your light to the world. Until next time.